Good morning, good afternoon or good evening, depending on when you are listening to this audio recording. My name by birth is Alex William Smith. I was born on the 13th of August 1975 into a show business family whilst my parents were travelling with Gandhi's circus here in England, and I made my stage debut aged 3 and a bit as Flap the Clown on Gandhi's circus. In later years I became the magician Alex Leroy and psychic entertainer Alex Leroy before becoming better known as comedy stage hypnotist, hypnotherapist and all-round expert in things to do with hypnosis and the mind in my stage name of Jonathan Royle. In terms of my career and life resume to date, you can look into that in more depth on my career resume page at Magical Guru, magicalguru.co.uk. The purpose of this recording is so that it is an audio aid to run alongside the 2 volumes of encyclopedic size books which are going to be released in 2025, entitled Imposter and subtitled Rupert Murdoch's Fake Sheik, Mazher Mahmood Exposed, Volume 1, and of course the other one will be called Imposter, Rupert Murdoch's Fake Sheik, Mazher Mahmood Exposed, Volume 2. Each of these volumes will run to approximately 400 pages approximately and contain documented evidence, a galore of multiple acts of dishonesty, deception and outright unlawful and illegal activities that the evidence shows Mazher Mahmood and his associates were and have been wholly guilty of over a period of decades. Anyway, look, there will also be a link underneath this audio recording stroke video on YouTube to take you to a Facebook folder full of images. Those are the images that came from data subject access requests from the court records and police ARCO files, and also from my Criminal Records Bureau CRB check and stuff that back up various things that I'm saying. Other things that I will mention are backed up by public domain media articles that are referenced in the 2-volume book, which will be available from Amazon and other major booksellers. Simply search for Imposter, Rupert Murdoch's Fake Sheik, Mazher Mahmood Exposed, Volume 1 and Volume 2 by Jonathan Royle. I will also index it with my birth name, Alex William Smith, as well on Amazon and other places. But a lot of the documents, such as legal documents, that are in the public domain, I will make easy for you to access by putting them on my blog page at circusofthemind.net. CIRCUSOFTHEMIND, circusofthemind.net. So with those things said, I've just got some bullet points here that I want to mention, and I'll tick them off my list here as I go along. The first is that during on the 30th of September 2022, I filed a case, Alex Smith versus NGN, so Alex Smith versus News Group Newspapers, in the High Court of England, and that shows up if you search it on the internet. Filed on the 30th of September 2022. As I make this recording, it is the 29th of October 2024, and unless News Group Newspapers make me a Part 36 offer, which is effectively would be to silence me and mean that I wouldn't then be able to go into a court and present all the evidence I've got of their unlawful and I would claim also illegal activities, because if they offer me even £1, even a penny I gather, more than a judge would realistically be expected to award me in damages, were it to go to court and I win the case, then the fact that if I turn down an offer which was even a penny more than the judge would be likely to award me would mean that even if I won, I would become liable for all of the legal costs of Newsgroup newspapers as well as my own. And I believe, based on what's in the public domain relating to Hugh Grant settling his case, that could run into millions, as much as £10 million, and quite clearly I do not have that, so I cannot do that. So if they do make me an offer, a Part 36 offer, which is, I get advised by my barrister, is more than a judge would reasonably be expected to award me were it to go to court, then I will have absolutely no choice but to accept such, meaning that I won't get my day in court to present all the incredibly strong documented evidence that I have of their unlawful, dishonest and often wholly illegal activities towards me in relation to what I've laid out in my claimant-specific particulars of claim, which were filed on the 30th of September 2022, and a copy of which can be seen at circusofthemind.net. And also at that website, circusofthemind.net, you can see a copy of what was submitted in my last criminal appeal and my last submission to the Criminal Cases Review Commission in a quest to get my 2 fake Sheik Mazher Mahmood related convictions overturned, which I now believe are unsafe. So far I've not managed to get permission to get leave to appeal to go back to the court. However, I now have tons of fresh evidence as shown at circusofthemind.net, I mentioned in this recording, which I will be able to in 2025 reapproach the Criminal Cases Review Commission with to get referred back to the Court of Appeal to finally, hopefully, get my unsafe convictions overturned, and I hope that other Mahmood victims get to do the same as well. So I want to make some points. The first point is that this year, earlier in 2024, about the middle of the year, sort of July, Augusty time, off the top of my head, I finally got disclosure, which meant that despite the fact that 3 times in the past, yes, 3 times, off the top of my head, I may have the date wrong, but in my book, Imposter, Rupert Murdoch's Fake Sheik Mazher Mahmood Exposed, Volumes 1 and Volumes 2, I lay out the dates specifically when I made data protection requests, subject access requests, to get Newsgroup newspapers to give me copies of any and all data that they held on me, whether that was in print form, digital form, video or audio forms, photographic form, or in any other manner. And I did this in and around 2015, thereabouts, and they refused, claiming that it was all what they held on file was being used in the course of journalism. So I applied again around 2018, and lo and behold, because I figured that that was after Mahmood had been sent to prison at the end of 2016. So in 2018 thereabouts I applied again, and they refused, again on the basis that they claimed it was being used in the course of journalism, anything that they held on file. And I again, this year in 2024, only this time I didn't do it myself personally, I submitted a request through my solicitors, from my solicitors, on solicitors letterhead from them, to Newsgroup newspapers, and the upshot of that was that again they refused to supply me the bulk of the information they had on me. They gave me a couple of press cuttings, but that wasn't what I was after. They refused to give me anything, yet again they claim, because of stuff being used in the course of journalism. Well, that's complete and utter nonsense, but as will become clear, it does become clear that the reason they did not want on 3 occasions to give me what they held on file about me is because what they hold on file shows that they, Mahmood and his team, were guilty and are guilty of unlawful, dishonest and often wholly illegal activities towards me in the fabrication of their 1998 News of the World story. So, the thing is, you see, to do secret covert filming, and to secretly audio record people in the course of journalism is illegal unless you have a defence that the story would be in the public interest. You must be able to show that it was in the public interest to secretly video and audio record, and also that you had a reliable source. Now, as you may already know if you looked at circusofthemind.net or been reading the book, I pled not guilty to the charges against me until the very first day of trial, when after a meeting in chambers with the judge, my barrister at the time, and solicitor, advised me that Mahmood was not going to be required to reveal his sources. So given that he wouldn't be required to reveal his sources would mean he would not be required to prove that he actually had a source at all. He could just make one up because he didn't need to prove or mention, he didn't need to reveal who his source was for the story. Well, that's rather convenient given that the evidence shows he didn't have any reliable source that any ethical journalist would rely on as being acceptable to have a public interest journalism defence for going on and doing secret filming and secret audio, and ultimately what I would argue was complete and utter entrapment and fabrications. No. What he had, what he had was a tip-off from me, about me, from me, as I will explain now. Because after the Kilroy stunt, BBC Kilroy stunt in early 1998, which my former publicist Alan Breeze had encouraged me to do, but the BBC wanted a water cooler moment because it was the first day that the Kilroy chat show was going head to head against a rival show on ITV, and they wanted a water cooler moment of controversy. So Alan Breeze suggested to me that I go on this programme called His Infidelity in the Genes, where I was supposed to be there talking about how to have affairs and get away with it using hypnotic language and psychological persuasion techniques, that I should at some point stand up, drop my pants and flash my tackle on the show that was going to be broadcast live, so it wouldn't be possible for them to edit it out, and that would get massive media coverage, as it did. Every national daily paper and also Sunday papers that week, and TV shows followed it up, radio shows. It got massive publicity for the Kilroy show, and it helped them in their ratings war against the rival show on ITV. Little did I know at the time that this was the start of Alan Breeze working on ruining my career and severing ties with me. Probably because he realised that I'd done so many things from 1993 up to 98, so over a period of 6 years, so many media pranks, and I'd always said that it was my end game to eventually stop doing the media pranks and then expose in print how the media don't do adequate checks, whether that be newspapers or magazines running stories or radio shows or TV shows, that they don't do adequate checks, and they're not so much bothered about truth. What they're bothered about is ratings, viewers, newspaper sales and selling advertising space and that kind of thing. So they don't do adequate checks on the reality or validity of things that people are claiming to be genuine stories, which is one of the biggest issues in the media, both radio and television as well as in the print media. There was a whole massive chat show scandal in the 90s about this, but it wasn't just chat shows. ITV and other stations were shown to have faked stories for documentaries. It was going on for decades, and it still is to some degree to this day. Now, after this, I heard rumours on the grapevine that Alan Breeze was maybe about to sell me out because he didn't like the idea that, well, I was now getting too well known and recognised as the media prankster, and he needed to sever ties with me in a way whereby I couldn't implicate him in the fact that he had for, you know, a number of years, certainly from 1994 to early 98, had helped me generate hundreds of TV, radio, newspaper and magazine media pranks around the world, and that he was often integral in getting them into print or on air. So he wanted to stitch me up, it would now appear with hindsight, in a manner whereby I wouldn't be taken seriously. And he suggested to me that I should do the call girl scam with Mazher Mahmood at the News of the World. And he explained to me that this basically meant that he would tip off Mahmood that I was a pimp, and I'd get contacted, I'd go to a meeting and talk nonsense, and then before I left, ring up a couple of girls from a local massage parlour. And as it happens, my girlfriend at the time, her mother worked as a cleaner at a Manchester-based massage parlour, and I would leave, the girls would come when I wasn't there, and they'd run a story, but write it up in a manner where it looked like I was some kind of big-time pimp. And then I, when exposing the fact that I'd for years been Britain's biggest media prankster, could use that as the cream on the cake, the cherry on the top as it were, to show that even the so-called #1 investigative journalist of the News of the World, Mazher Mahmood, fabricated stories, and, you know, truth and honesty, the true reality of the matter, didn't really come into it, and that all I'd done was rung some girls from a local massage parlour and left, and then he'd written it up as though I was some kind of pimp. That was my intention. That was seeded, planted into my head by Alan Breeze. But at the time, I'd been hearing rumours from associates that Alan was going to do something to try, you know, to sever ties with me, that he was going to stitch me up. So I thought I'd take things into my own hands. And so what I did was I sent a typed press release, a multiple page typed press release, although I did write my telephone number on it, a telephone number for me, a mobile number, in my own handwriting, and I did write a few notes onto that in my own handwriting so it could be identified and proven to be my handwriting on that document. Meaning, incidentally, that this document was a multi-page kind of synopsis of different television, radio, newspaper and magazine media scams that I pulled, what fake names I'd used, when they happened, where they were placed, and a little overview of how I did it. And there was a suggestion in it when I sent it to Mazher Mahmood, the Chief Investigations Officer at the News of the World newspaper, that he should do a story exposing me as Britain's biggest ever media prankster. Well, here's the thing. I never heard anything from Mahmood in relation to that. A good couple of weeks went by with 0 phone calls to the number that was on the typewritten press release, media prankster release, as I refer to it as. So I then sent another thing through the post to Mazher Mahmood. This time it wasn't typed, it was handwritten, and it appeared to be an anonymous tip-off about the Nickelodeon children's television presenter, as I refer to myself as, when in truth I'd just done a few magic slots, guesting spots on Nickelodeon, claiming that this Alex Leroy was some kind of pimp and pornographer of girls for porn films, and that rumours were that he also supplied drugs. And I sent this to Mahmood with a number on it that was a pay-as-you-go SIM card, so that I knew if that number rang, it was Mahmood, whatever fake name he may use. Albeit that I had been tipped off already in the past over the number of years I'd been working with my former publicist Alan Breeze, because I also worked on stories with him about other people and helped him sell stories to the media, but that's an entirely different tale which I don't need to go into here, other than to say along the way I learnt about different names that Mahmood used in the course of his stings, and I also became aware of what Mahmood looked like. So I knew before he contacted me the actual name that he mentioned, and I knew what Mahmood looked like, albeit it didn't matter anyway, because the only person who'd been given that pay-as-you-go SIM card number, it was on that written tip-off that I sent to Mahmood. And indeed I did get a call very shortly after having sent this thing from someone claiming to be Perry Khan. He's also used Pervez Khan in the past, but Perry Khan is the way I heard it, referred to it. And saying that, you know, he wanted girls for porn films and he wanted to get drugs for his big boss, who was a Saudi Arabian TV producer, rich oil sheikh, but had a TV station and could offer me television presenting work, his usual kind of modest operandi, very similar to what he did with Talisa and various other people such as John Alford and Emma Morgan, Jodie Marsh and a whole bunch of other people. So, yeah. The person who gave Mahmood my number was me. The person who tipped off Mahmood was me. And the truth of the matter is, he must have known that. Certainly, well, he definitely knew that in relation to the typewritten press release. And in terms of the handwritten one, if he'd compared the handwriting on that, which surely a journalist with, you know, their investigative skills would think, this is a bit odd. We've got a typed press release saying, please come and stitch me up as a media prankster. And then a couple of weeks later, when we've not acted on that, we've got this written tip-off come through and it's in handwriting. Hang on, that handwriting looks familiar. Or surely he would have compared and seen that the handwriting on the written tip-off was indeed identical to the handwritten notes I'd put on the written press release. So then he would have known for definite that it was me. That's one way he could have known in advance that I knew who he was, and you know, this wasn't ever on any level a real story, and there was no public interest journalism argument for him to do what he did, meaning that all of his secret filming and secret audio recording was illegal from the start and all the way through, and therefore should not have been accepted as evidence in any manner for any form of what I now consider to be unsafe criminal proceedings against me, which led to two unsafe convictions that I'll get back to later. The interesting thing is that in disclosure this year, 2024, inside the Enfield archive at News Group newspapers released to me, yes, they still have on file the typewritten prankster media release that I sent to Mahmood. They also have the handwritten envelope that contained a handwritten anonymous tip that was sent a couple of weeks later. But strangely, I have not been disclosed the handwritten anonymous tip. Or is it really that strange? Because it strikes me it's no wonder that Mahmood would have destroyed that, or one of his associates, because that would really prove, because it could be proven that the handwriting was mine, would really prove beyond any reasonable doubt that I tipped him off. So at the first meeting where Mahmood, it now shows on the audio tapes and the videos that have been disclosed to me, said that he got my number from Forum magazine, which I believe was a gentleman's magazine of the time, that, well, that's complete and utter lies. Because I've never done anything with Forum magazine. Where he got my number from, the number he rang from, that pay-as-you-go SIM card number, is from me, from that tip-off. Now, some might argue that he believed that that anonymous tip-off was genuine, and that he didn't, you know, he just didn't ever see the handwriting on that next to the handwriting on the typewritten one, albeit they were stored in the same file box in the Enfield archive, so they were definitely near each other at some point, so surely it would have jumped out, because believe me, my handwriting's quite distinctive. But anyway, let's just say that's the case. Then we have to bring into the equation that when I was contacted in 2021 by the claimants group to make a statement for use in the trial that was scheduled but never went ahead at the end of that year, I was notified that there was a receipt in existence dated a couple of days before I met with Mahmood in person for the first time, and that this was a receipt for a company, a private investigation company, known to have done phone hacking for journalists, and that therefore likely my phone had been hacked. Now, as at the time I was talking about my intended media prank on Mahmood, the so-called call girl scam thing, that's all it was ever intended to be, as I was talking about this with some members of my family and certainly with close friends, my close trusted friends, of which there was only a handful, but nonetheless I was talking to them about this. It was the sort of thing that may have been voicemails related to, okay? And, well, the fact of the matter is, my phone was hacked before I met with him. So he would have known, one way or the other, by the time I first ever met with Mahmood on the 1st of April 1998, April Fool's Day, hilariously, that I knew who he was and that I had zero criminal intentions and that I just wanted to pull a prank and then go away and show that he had a total disregard for honesty and the truth. Now, looking back on it, what a young, ridiculous, immature, ballsy madness moment that was of mine, to think that I could pull this prank on the chief investigations guy at the News of the World with all their resources. But I didn't know anything of phone hacking, so I had no reason to believe that anything like that had took place. And although I'd heard rumours that my publicist was going to sever ties with me, I did not for one moment think that he was going to be taking money off Mazher Mahmood and involved in socially engineering me into doing something that I never wanted to do, which is what ended up happening in terms of me being convinced to actually go and pick up coins that happened later in the course of events. But the bottom line is that in the Enfield archive at News Group papers, they've got the typed media pranks to release that I sent that nothing ever happened of. And then they've got the handwritten envelope of the anonymous tip-off I sent a couple of weeks later, and we now know there's receipts that prove that Mahmood used phone hacking, unlawful information gathering techniques through the third-party agency that was paid. Receipt proves that, prior to me meeting with him. That, combined with the fact that we've got proof that he paid my publicist a couple of £1,000, which was a lot of money in 1998, and on all levels it points towards him knowing that I was intending to prank him and knowing that I knew who he was before we ever met, and, well, you get the idea, okay? On no level do I believe it could be argued he had a genuine public interest journalism defence for doing secret filming or audio recording on the basis of all that I just mentioned to you. But unfortunately for me, it was deemed on the first day of trial, after my barrister had a meeting with the judge in his chambers, that Mahmood would not be required to reveal his sources. So if he didn't have to reveal his sources, that means that he didn't have to effectively prove where he'd got the tip-off from, and thus, by not being made to prove, it was impossible for me to show that he didn't have a proper source, because he didn't, which meant it was impossible for me and unfair on me to, I wasn't in a position to be able to prove that I'd sent him that type release, that I'd sent him that handwritten note. But now, thanks to the disclosure in my Alex Smith versus NGN case filed on the 30th of September 2022, the disclosure I got in 2024 shows that they got the typewritten prankster release in their files, shows they've got the handwritten envelope in their files, but therefore illustrates that the handwritten tips vanish, which itself is odd. But also there's the receipt to prove that phone hacking was paid for unlawful information gathering prior to my first meeting with Mahmood. There was also further unlawful information gathering done along the way and later in 1998 in between my court hearings and such like, but I'll mention that later. So he had zero public interest journalism defence, I would say, for any of the secret filming or audio recordings, so therefore none of them should have been admissible in a court of law at any point. Although, to be honest, the truth of the matter is, now having watched them fast approaching 27 years on, which it will be come April 2025, it will be 27 years on. If I'd have ever seen the videos in full back then, I would likely have said to my legal team, please let's continue pleading not guilty and let's make the jury watch every single excruciatingly boring and long and ridiculous and laughable minute and second of all the videos and make them listen to all the audios, because anyone who looks at them rationally can see that I'm talking complete and utter nonsense at all times, that I have zero criminal intent or ability, that I keep making excuses galore why I've not acquired things for him, and it becomes clear that he knows that I've neither got any intention or ability to get anything for him, and he's getting exasperated, and indeed at one point on the secret recordings can be heard saying to Comrade Brown, who's playing the part of his bodyguard, oh, flipping heck, get rid of him, this is one of the hardest ones I've ever had to do, because he's getting exasperated by the fact I'm not supplying anything. That's why they have to go down, with the help of my former publicist Alan Breeze, the fake coins route. Now, I had been prompted to mention drugs, guns, coins and all this by my former publicist to brag about them, which I did, socially engineered into that looking back on it. But, well, anyway, we'll get back to that in a minute. Here's the thing. Whilst there are videos and audios that back up everything I've ever said and everything I state on my website of circusofthemind.net, strikingly, there have been no audio recordings disclosed to me of the multiple telephone calls that took place between myself and Perry Card, aka Mazher Mahmood, between myself and Mahmood's bodyguard, aka Comrade Brown, or between myself and Alan Breeze in relation to this. And as I recall, there's one or two calls from someone else who I had no idea who it was, other than they said they were part of Mr. Khan's office team. Okay? Now, not a single recording of any phone call before my first meeting or between or after any of the subsequent meetings, which is odd because tons of them took place, and through these that's where the behind the scenes manipulation, veiled threats and intimidation were made towards me by Mr. Khan's bodyguard, associates, and of course my publicist, who was in on it because he was on the payroll and got paid a couple of grand for his part in the socially engineering and manipulating me. And it can be shown on the videos that have been disclosed that he's guiding me into talking about certain things and certain celebrities I've met and all this, that, the other. So it was him that suggested the call girl scam, seeded it into my head, but I went ahead and I've already explained, kind of, I did it off my own back, which would, with hindsight now, have given Alan Breeze a motive to try and stitch me up as much as he possibly could, because obviously if I was able to go ahead and expose at a big credible level all of the media scams I'd done on television shows, radio shows, in newspapers and magazines from 1993 up to 1998, then because he was involved in the vast majority of them, it would implicate him and would likely ruin his career and his source of income. Further add to that the fact that Mahmood would have become aware that if I'd gone elsewhere and been able to show that he printed up a story along the lines of the fact that I was some kind of pimp, when in fact I'd only rung a couple of girls from a local massage parlour and wasn't there and had no part in it, didn't make any money from it and all that kind of stuff, that could seriously damage him, draw attention to his lack of honesty, and if people had to start digging then, maybe back then they would have found out that he was using unlawful information gathering techniques, illegal private investigators, covert surveillance, phone hacking, that he was drugging people's drinks, that he was doing, just making things up, all things that I wasn't aware of at the time. I didn't know how deep the rabbit hole went, but now that they've come to light in the past couple of years with the evidence that I've got and other people have got through disclosures in court cases and other sources, it becomes clear that he had a motive to make sure that I could never do that. Now, the truth of the matter is, a more sane, intelligent way for him to have avoided me exposing him as a dishonest liar would have been just to walk away from it, because he would have known through having hacked my phone, through his contact with my publicist Alan Breeze, and of course through the typewritten media prankster release and the handwritten tip-off that I mentioned before, what my intentions were. And that they were certainly not of a criminal nature, they were of a public interest journalism. Yes, I genuinely had a public interest journalism defence for doing what I later did, and the only thing I did that was questionable in law if I did not have a lawful excuse would have been going and picking up the coins that Mahmood and his team and associates ultimately in the main via Alan Breeze, but I know someone else mentioned it as well, told me where to acquire them from, and Mahmood provided the money up front to actually be able to get them. So I just collected some coins from a place I was told using money I was given up front. So I was incited into doing that by somebody who did not have a public interest journalism defence, but because my intention was to expose his dishonesty and get this media prank, okay, I believe that I did have a public interest journalism defence for picking up those coins and handing them over to somebody who I knew was a journalist and would have to give them to the police so they would never get into public circulation, which they didn't. So I believe I was the one with the public interest journalism defence, not him. So the next note I've got on here is that on the 1st of April, which was the first meeting, April Fool's Day, would you believe it, the videos confirm what I knew, that he ordered multiple drinks, as he did on every meeting. He encouraged me to drink. Although I did drink a fair amount, I didn't drink more than I would have normally done, because obviously when I left the meetings I then went on to soft drinks. So in the course of a full day, any of the times I had meetings with him, I didn't drink any more than I normally would have done, and yet I felt way more hungover, which didn't make sense at the time, but with hindsight and with advice and information I've received since, including the fact that one of his former employees, photographer and journalist Steve Grayson, who was on the 2014 Panorama documentary Fake Sheik Exposed, he has given me in recent years a sworn witness statement which was submitted as part of my appeal on my criminal convictions, and will be again in the future, stating that he witnessed Mahmood drugging people's drinks in the course of a sting with a GHB date rape style drug that would render them more suggestible and easy to manipulate and get to do things without thinking about it. That, I believe, happened to me on the occasions that I met with Mahmood. I'm not the only person to make those kinds of assertions. Talisa and her friends made the assertion that they believe their drinks have been drugged. Rugby player Lawrence Duraglio has done the same. Snooker player John Higgins, actor John Alford, actress and model Emma Morgan, the Earl of Hardwicke and Stephen Thwaites. A whole myriad of Mahmood victims have, over the course of a couple of decades, stated they believe their drinks were spiked and or drugged. And indeed, we now have a statement from Steve Grayson, who worked with Mahmood, stating that he witnessed Mahmood drug somebody's drink in the course of a sting, and that Mahmood bragged about being able to get this drug from a chemist friend of his, and he also bragged about using it in his dating life, which to me sounds a hell of a lot like date rape. Anyway, on the first meeting on the 1st of April, where my publicist Alan Breeze accompanied me, and we're seeing on the videos, multiple drinks are ordered, but I ordered vodka and orange, and the vodka came separate from the orange, and you can just about see on some of the videos Comrade pouring and mixing the vodka and orange drinks before passing them to Mahmood, who eventually passes them to me. There is, I would argue, ample opportunity for the drinks to have been drugged, basically. On that first meeting on the 1st of April, my publicist Alan Breeze is clearly witnessed guiding me to talk about various celebrities and subjects, most of which actually didn't end up getting used in the article, but it's obvious to watch and see that it's clear that although Mahmood and him are pretending not to know each other, that they clearly do. Now, I knew that they'd met before because I'd had those discussions with Alan Breeze over the years of my working as a media prankster, which is how I knew what Mahmood looked like and the different names he used and this, that, the other. So it's ridiculous. All of us in that room knew that we all knew each other, who each other was rather, and that it was all nonsense. Any ethical journalist would have walked away from this. Because if they'd known it was a non-story and they didn't have a public interest journalism angle anyway, and they'd have known that, well, I had zero criminal intent or ability. But no, they ploughed ahead. Was it because Mahmood was doing Alan Breeze a favour in helping to try and ruin my credibility so that I couldn't expose Breeze's involvement in years of media scams, not just involving me, but involving loads of other people, as I mentioned in my book, Imposter Rupert Murdoch's Fake Sheik Mazher Mahmood Exposed, Volumes 1 and 2. Quite possibly also he was hoping to protect himself, because I didn't know about all these other things going on. Drugging of drinks, phone hacking, unlawful information gathering, use of illegal private investigators, no public interest journalism defence for doing secret filming or audio recording, outright fabrication of stuff, editing tapes to make it look different. I didn't know about any of these things that have come to light over the years since. I didn't know how deep the rabbit hole was. I was in way above my neck and they were always 50 steps ahead of me. But, you know, an ethical journalist would have walked away. Anyway, in any event, on the 2nd of April, you know, anyone watching the tapes wouldn't see that I'm talking bullshit. It's obvious a mile off. Indeed, when I was in the police station, which we'll come back to later, the police and my solicitor, but the police themselves, said that looking at the tapes, it's obvious that I'm talking nonsense and just acting a part, and it's obvious that I know that I'm being secretly filmed. Incidentally, I was also audio recording those first meetings. Sadly, I no longer have those audio tapes because the copy my solicitor had, when I tried to obtain them a couple of years ago for my criminal appeals, they confirmed they'd been destroyed because they don't have to keep hold of things for that many years. And the copy I had myself got destroyed in floods that I had over the years and such like. So sadly I don't have those audio recordings, but at the time I did, and the police knew, because that added to my proving my intention was just a media prank, something that even the judge accepted, as is documented by the Manchester Evening News article that was published at the trial at the start of March 1998, details of which are on circusofthemind.net, where the judge stated he accepted that it was a media prank gone wrong, but that, he said I'd overstepped the line. I would argue that I didn't overstep any line, that I had a public interest journalism defence. Why was Mahmood never charged for giving me money to go and buy coins? Why was Mahmood never charged for illegally buying coins? Well, the answer obviously would be because it was deemed that he had a public interest journalism defence for doing such things. But as I've just discussed, he didn't. But I couldn't prove that he didn't because he was not required to disclose his sources of the story. The sources, which were me, which would have proved it was nothing, there was no other element to it other than a media prank. And totally blows out of the water any public interest journalism defence he may have thought he had, which meant that he should have been charged. He did those things illegally. Whereas I had audio recordings and the judge accepted that it was a media prank, that I had no criminal intent. Surely, therefore, as it was in the public interest to expose the fact that Mahmood wrote things up in a dishonest, deceptive manner, I should have been afforded that journalistic licence, public interest journalism defence, and therefore this matter should never, ever have come to court in the first place. But in any event, when it did, Mahmood should have been forced to reveal his sources, at which point he would have been unable to do so, and therefore I could have more easily proven perhaps the fact that I'd sent that written, handwritten anonymous release and that I'd sent the type written release. But in any event, he wouldn't have been able to show a source for the story because there was no basis in reality. Okay, so on the next meeting on the 2nd of April, again when my publicist attends, can be seen on videos when I go to the toilet that my former publicist Alan Breeze hands a VHS videotape to Mahmood. I guess that was a video of me on Nickelodeon, and where they got the screenshot of me bending a spoon that was used as one of the photos in the fabricated article. During the course of this meeting, I'm asked again if I managed to bring with me any drugs, which the day before he'd asked me to bring some, and I make excuses as to why I've not got any, because obviously I didn't have the ability to acquire them, and I had no intentions of anyway. And in terms of my apparent knowledge of prices of drugs, guns and all this other stuff that I bullshitted about, well, I got that from researching the crime and court section of the Manchester Evening News, and also through speaking with detectives who drank in the Flying Horse public house in Town Hall Square in Rochdale on Friday afternoons, which they did every Friday at that time and throughout the 90s. And they would have known I was researching a media prank. So yeah, that is relevant as well. On the 2nd of April, when I'm bullshitting as to why I've not got him drugs that he asked for the day before, he asks again about counterfeit money, and I remove 3 genuine pound coins from my pocket and I hand them over and say they are samples. He ultimately says they are the best fake coins he's seen. Well, of course they are, because they're genuine. Those coins always were genuine, and that is why they never got given to the police, because his assertion that I gave him fake coins would be somewhat blown out of the water when it was seen that those 3 coins I handed over there were in fact genuine. Okay. I was hoping, after having left that meeting, incidentally, I have to say, I'll go back ever so slightly, I forgot to mention that the day before I'd rung from his hotel room on the 1st of April, the local massage parlour, asked for 2 girls to come along that night and left. So on the 2nd of April I asked him how it went, and of course, yeah, he said he had a great time, they were great girls, and just what I thought played his part at the time, because the articles always claimed that he packed them off and nothing inappropriate happened. However, we now know from the videos having been disclosed that the videos show that the meeting was done under the pretext that it was his bodyguard, Comrade Brown's, birthday. I'm not sure if it genuinely was or not, but that's what they told the girls. And there was a birthday cake involved and all this, that, the other. And some key points about this are as follows, which are confirmed by documents in the Enfield archive that have been disclosed to me, and also by what is on the video and audio recordings. Namely this. During the videos, one of the girls gets cream off the birthday cake and rubs it onto her breasts, and then encourages Comrade to lick it off her breasts. Rather than making excuses, which he could have done as an ethical journalist, he proceeds to lick the cream off her breasts, which I find to be highly inappropriate. Also, one of the girls says to Mahmood, or rather Perry Khan, that he's playing the part of, that she thinks, should she have an operation to make her breasts bigger or not? And Mahmood is seen to stand up, go over to take a closer look, and to touch her breasts. He did not need to touch her breast in the course of ethical journalism. He could have just looked visually and said, no, you don't need to have an operation, or yes you do, or whatever. But no, he took the opportunity to touch her breast, which is completely unnecessary. And yeah, strangely enough, no mention of Comrade licking cream off her breasts or him touching them in the story they later printed and fabricated, is there? Of course not, because, you know, truth and reality are not their main motives. Now, also in relation to that, when I, on the 1st of April, rang the girls, I wrote onto a piece of Piccadilly Hotel notepad paper in the room I was in, the 4-digit room number of the hotel suite we were in, so I wouldn't forget it. And when I'd rung the massage parlour on their landline number, I wrote down the mobile number they gave me for the girls and the girls' names onto a sheet of paper. That sheet of paper has been disclosed to me as part of what was released to me from the Enfield archive, so they still had that on file. But strangely, there was also another piece of paper, hotel room paper I would imagine it seems to be, and there's a different 4-digit number on it, which I believe to be a different hotel room number, and on it, in handwriting that isn't mine, I suspect is Mahmood's, is the name of one of the girls and a mobile number, the same mobile number that appears on the handwritten sheet that I did write. Okay, so the one I wrote originally to leave in with the girl's number, but then there's a separate sheet with a different 4-digit hotel room number, suite number on, and the girl's numbers. I infer that in relation to the fact that, having watched the videos and listened to the audios, he is heard to say, I'm back in the area on Saturday, I'll give you a ring then, that this is the piece of paper he took notes on, to have the number to ring the girls to meet up with them again on the Saturday when I wasn't there, when I didn't have any meetings with him on the Saturday, when there was journalistically no reason to meet with those girls again other than for his own sexual gratification. Now, here's the thing. That is further compounded and, I would say, proven to be the case by virtue of the fact that the photographs that appeared in the newspaper article that eventually appeared on the 12th of April 1998 in the News of the World, the photograph of Mahmood with the two girls, one either side of him, knelt either side of him, does not visually match any of the video footage that has been disclosed to me. Indeed, the photographs in the Enfield archive of Mahmood with the two ladies that appeared, one of them, pictures appeared in the article, the furniture in the background even appears to be different than the furniture in the background on the videos that have been disclosed to me of the meeting I had with him on that day, the 1st of April. When you look at this in light of the fact with the audio recordings and the videos where he says, I will see you on Saturday, and the other piece of notepaper with a 4-digit room number that's different than any room I ever met him in, and has got the girl's number on. It strikes me that he did see them on the Saturday, and that's when the photographs were staged for the article, and when he most likely got his even more sexual gratification by sleeping with one or both of them, which is something I was told had took place by the mother of my girlfriend at the time, who worked as a cleaner at the massage parlour. So completely unethical, and of course it was written up as expected, as though I was some kind of big time pimp when I'd only rung the local massage parlour, which was what I was intending to expose as the prank, but that wasn't enough for them. No article appeared on Sunday the 5th of April 1998, much to my surprise. So I was scuppered, and I then started getting more phone calls from Alan Breeze and from Perry Khan, aka Mahmood, and Comrade, and somebody else actually, but I don't know who that was. They just said they were part of Perry Khan's team. In any event, these calls were piling on the pressure. Why have you not got, you know, the drugs yet? Why have you not got the guns? Why have you not got, you know, anything, basically? Well, obviously that's because I couldn't and wouldn't and had zero intentions of doing. However, along the way, it suggested to me and implanted in my mind by, at the very least, Alan Breeze, but I also believe it happened, that was over the phone, but I also believe it happened in the lift on one occasion from one of Mahmood's team, that it was suggested to me it was possible to get counterfeit pound coins from a contact called, nicknamed Spider, who had a spider tattoo on his face, from a pub in Longsight in Manchester. That was laying dormant in my head. I was getting behind the scenes veiled threats and intimidation and pressure and whatnot. And ultimately, it was put on me, get 1,000 coins. And I remember that I'd been told I could get 1,000 for 400 quid. So I mentioned this to Mahmood on one of the calls, and he said, get some, come and see me, bring them on the, you know, Thursday the 9th of April. Well, actually, no, sorry, let's backtrack. That's when I did see him. I believe originally it was probably mentioned go and see him on Wednesday the 8th, it may have been. That's an immaterial thing. I can't remember, it's that many years on. But I think it was actually go and see him earlier. And I then pulled out because I made the excuse that my bank account had been frozen because they thought dodgy activity had taken place. It wasn't true. It was the kind of bullshit I came out with in order to justify why I was unable to go and get these fake coins from the place that I've been told I could get them from. Well, no problem, says Mahmood or Perry Khan. We will give you the money up front. Giving somebody the money up front? I'm clearly seen on video saying I will not take money up front. I'm making it clear I will not take money off him up front because, well, you know, I just don't do that. That's because I'm trying to stress on video that I have no intentions of doing anything illegal. Well, lo and behold, this isn't good enough for him. He wants me to get these coins, and I end up getting a call from Alan Breeze, who's apparently also spoke to Perry Khan. And he gives this whole bullshit about how he might lose the job of doing publicity for Perry Khan's television company boss, and that I could lose my presenting work. So why don't I just go and pick up the money off Perry Khan and go and pick up these coins, and all will be good. And I didn't want to, but anyway, I went reluctantly to a meeting on the 9th of April 1998, and I took to that meeting in the taxi with me, my good friend, because I did not want to, if I did end up going to a strange pub in Longsight in Manchester, I did not want to go on my own. I wanted somebody with me to make sure I was safe and they knew what was going on and could contact the police if necessary. Okay, from a safety point of view. Well, I went into the hotel on the 9th. It had already been arranged through phone calls in between, of which, strangely, No audio recordings have been supplied in disclosure, as though they don't exist. I wonder why. Is it because it shows how fabricated and engineered this all was by Mahmood and his team and Alan Breeze? I would say so. That I go in and I'm expecting just to pick up the money and leave, be there a couple of minutes. But instead, Mahmood insists that I have a drink. I say, no, I can't. I've got a friend in a taxi downstairs. Rather than say, no, here's the money, see you later on then when you bring the coins back, he insists I have some drinks, and he sends Comrade, posing as his bodyguard, to go downstairs to the taxi and to tell the taxi driver he will be well paid, hang on as long as he needs to, and he tells my friend who sat in the back of the taxi that I'm going to be a while, just wait, I'll be down eventually. This can be heard on the secret audio recordings on the recorder that Comrade had up on him, which proves that my friend was in the taxi and I took moral support with Mick and I didn't want to go to a strange public house on my own. And it proves that he told them to wait, which together with the videos proving that Mahmood says, no, have a drink, and then proceeds to order multiple drinks, not one drink, but multiple, which I think, again, were probably ended up getting drugged. Although why, he didn't need to, because I was willing to say anything or, within reason, at this point, almost do anything, because of the coercion I'd got from Alan Breeze and Mahmood Associates. Because I needed a story to appear so I could go elsewhere and show that what he printed didn't really bear basis to true reality. Well, eventually after a few drinks he gives me the money, £400 for the coins, the amount that I've been told I could get them for, and he also gives me money to cover the taxis to go and pick up the coins and then come back later that day with the coins with my girlfriend so we could have a meal in the restaurant to apparently celebrate my new television presenting opportunities. Well, there's other things to consider as well. I then went and we picked up the coins, and sure enough there was a guy called, responding rather, I don't know if he was genuinely nicknamed Spider, but he responded to the nickname Spider, and he did have a spider tattoo on his face, but I don't know if that was a genuine tattoo. Perhaps it was just one of these temporary ones, and he was in the pub I'd been told to go to. He didn't ask any questions, and I just said, have you got any coins? And he literally gave me a bag, and I handed him the £400 that had been given up front by Mahmood, who took it from a pile of cash that was on a table just out of the camera sight line, but in my eye line in the room, a big pile of cash. So clearly it was some kind of psychological ploy to make him look like a big God knows. Anyway, the point is they supplied the money up front, otherwise it just wouldn't have happened. And now with reflection and hindsight, I look back, why was he so insistent? Why did he get his so-called bodyguard to go downstairs and tell the taxi to wait as long as it took to tell my friend that I'd be down eventually and to wait? I suspect now and realise now that it's probably because I'd shown up a bit early, and therefore they knew that if I left straight away and went to that public house that they ultimately knew about and had told me about through Breeze and other people, that whoever Spider was wouldn't be there. I reckon they knew he needed more time to be there, so that he insisted I have those drinks so we could kill time, enough time to ensure the person playing the part of Spider, who probably had never been in that public house before, was able to get there for me to go and pick up these coins. In other words, I'm saying I believe they were all parts of the supply chain. Not only did they supply the money up front, but they, ultimately I believe, supplied the coins, the alleged fake coins, and I say alleged fake coins for reasons I'll come to later, in the same way as they were all areas of the supply chain in supplying the drugs in the Emma Morgan case that was discussed on the BBC Panorama in late 2014 after the collapse of the Talisa trial. I believe a similar thing took place. They were all elements of the supply chain. In any event, I did not get him any drugs or guns, underage girls, or indeed any of the other nonsense that he or Alan encouraged me to talk about, and which I bullshitted about because I was going to expose it as them printing nonsense. Unfortunately, this all went wrong because the CPS decided not to afford me journalistic licence, and the CPS decided that although I had proof that I'd done it as a media prank, that apparently this didn't give me a public interest journalism defence for picking up the coins, so they were going to do me for that. But I never got done for anything else. And under normal circumstances, the law says offering to supply drugs would be a criminal offence. But they accepted the fact that I had no criminal intentions and I couldn't do that anyway, so they never charged me with that, because they accepted that. And even the judge in court in 1999, as reported by the Manchester Evening News, accepted my intention was nothing more than a media prank. Indeed, the police detectives who interviewed me sat there and watched the video that we were given. I say video, not videos, because I never saw more than one video, an edited highlights video of different meetings, obviously edited to make me look as bad as possible. I never saw full-length tapes until I got the disclosure this year in 2024 of the unedited meetings, albeit that there's videos for all the meetings, but only audio recordings for some of them. So was something said on some of the audio recordings that they wanted to get rid of? Something said by Mahmood or Comrade Brown or one of his other associates, and it was just easier for them to get rid of the audio tape, perhaps. There's certainly no audio recordings of any of the numerous phone calls between me and Mahmood, me and Comrade Brown, me and Alan Breeze, before or in between the meetings, which will put into perspective the fact that this was a wholly engineered fabrication by them. That went beyond entrapment, and on no level did he have any public interest journalism defence for doing this. But fortunately for him, the judge decided on the first day of trial that he didn't need to reveal his sources, which meant I couldn't prove that he didn't have any genuine source. I know, it's just a comedy of errors. Anyway, that was it. I picked up the coins, delivered them later. We went for a meal. During the course of that meal, as I recall, the audio recordings show that during that, Comrade, playing the part of Mahmood's bodyguard, when we're having a conversation, I bring up the subject of stun guns, or he does, and I say, no, I can't get stun guns. And Comrade, playing the part of the bodyguard, says he can get stun guns, and he tells me how much they are, and he offers to sell me one. Now, it can be argued he was doing that in the context of playing the part, but still, did he really have a public interest journalism defence at that stage to be offering to sell me stuff? No, I believe that he broke the law there, my personal belief. Anyway, also, the videos and audios illustrate that at some point in these meetings, certainly in that last meeting, when I go to the toilet along with my girlfriend, take her to the toilet, and then we go, you know, we've left the table, so Mahmood and Comrade are together on their own briefly. On the audios, he can be heard saying, oh, bloody hell, Comrade, I'm going to make me excuses and leave soon, words to that effect. Give him some money for a taxi, get rid of him. This is one of the hardest ones I've ever done. And you can tell in the context of the other recordings that he's fed up of talking nonsense. He knows I'm talking nonsense. He knows that I know who he is, and vice versa. It's just, it's completely mental. Anyway, the story does appear that Sunday, the 12th of April. Full of things I'm supposed to have said, which now, looking at the videos and audios, many of the things I'm quoted as directly saying, the only way you could really argue that I'd ever said them is if you took bits of one conversation and bits of another conversation and spliced them together to make a sentence that they printed, type of thing. So, you know, little to no reality in that either. Amongst disclosure as well, other receipts have come out for other unlawful information gathering having been paid for, including around July 1998 time, which was when I was having court hearings and lots of legal meetings about what I was going to do and putting together my defence, because I always intended to plead not guilty, and indeed did do until the first day of trial, when I was advised that Mahmood would not be required to reveal his sources, as I've already discussed. Also, what I didn't know at the time, which I now know, is that there were photographs taken covertly through long-range lenses on cameras out and about outside of the hotel. So-called covert surveillance and information gathering, again, is illegal without a justifiable public interest journalism defence, which, as we've already covered, he did not have, I would argue. There are photos disclosed to me from the Enfield archive, a photo of me with Mahmood on the street in central Manchester outside the hotel, meaning that I was being outdoor covert surveilled by somebody that they were paying to do this, which in the context of how it happened is unlawful and I would argue illegal. When the article appeared on Sunday the 12th of April 1998, I went to my local police station. I wanted to hand myself in, give my audio tapes that I had at the time, give all the information I had and show that it was a complete fabrication, so that then I could go to another paper and prove that it was a complete fabrication and get the media prank out and expose my different media pranks over the years and whatnot. This, however, didn't work because the police didn't want to question me, and indeed it was not until Mahmood handed his dossier, as they always refer to it as, of evidence to the police on the 19th of April, a full week after the story appearing, that the police contacted me. And I then arranged to go in voluntarily and do a full comment interview, which took hours because I gave them all the information they required. And then ultimately, sadly, the CPS decided that they were going to charge me for delivery of counterfeit coins, and that they were going to charge me with delivery of 3 counterfeit coins on the 2nd of April 1998, which were actually 3 genuine coins from my pocket, and they were going to charge me with delivery of 1,000 alleged fake coins on the 9th of April, which are the ones that were picked up from the pub where I was told where to acquire them and given the money up front by Mahmood, his team and associates. That is 1,000 plus 3 is 1,003 coins total. And yet, the police were never given 1,003 coins. And I believe this is because Mahmood realised the 3 coins from my pocket on the 2nd of April were genuine, and therefore he removed, I believe, 3 coins from the 1,000 alleged fake coins of the 9th of April, handed them in and said they were 3 coins given to him on the 2nd of April rather than giving the genuine coins that he'd realised by then, which meant he only had 997 alleged fake coins left to hand in as being given to him on the 9th of April. 997 and 3 is 1,000, which does get mentioned in future documents, although other figures do as well. But at the very least, 3 coins go missing. Why is that? Because it wouldn't fit their narrative of lies. That is why. Ultimately, I was charged with 2 offences under section 15.2 of the Forgery and Counterfeiting Act 1987, namely of delivering a counterfeit coin, or a coin I believe to be counterfeit, to somebody else, which is nonsense because the 3 coins on the 2nd of April were genuine, but nonetheless I got 2 charges, and ultimately, because I ended up changing my plea to guilty after bad advice at the start of the trial in 1999, and also due to Mahmood being told he wouldn't have to reveal his sources, so I couldn't really defend myself properly, I got 2 6-month sentences. 6 months for delivering 3 alleged fake coins on the 2nd of April, and 6 months for delivering, well, it was 1,000 coins, but then they said 997, and other documents say 996. As you can see in the information on circusofthemind.net, it's nonsense, and the video and the link that's below this video, to run concurrently. But in total, 6 months for each, which is 12 months imprisonment. Fortunately, they were to run concurrently. And I was sent to Manchester Tough Strange Ways that was overcrowded, and because prisons were overcrowded, I was there longer than I should have been on the induction wing, and then I was in strange ways longer than I should have been before I finally got sent to an open prison for the final bit of my sentence. Although, because I was seen to be an exemplary prisoner, mainly because I'd never been in trouble with the police before, and I never had been since, I was recommended for what was called coming in called home detention curfew, so-called electronic tagging. I was one of the first ever people to get that, so fortunately I got out a little bit earlier. Now, the thing is, based on everything I've said, I do not believe Mahmood had a public interest journalism defence for doing, saying or engineering anything that he did say, do or engineer, along with his associates and also my former publicist Alan Breeze. And therefore that means he did not have a legal justification for giving me the money up front to go and get coins, for inciting me to go and pick them up, or for being involved in the supply of those or the purchase of them. Which therefore I believe means he should have got charged with inciting me to buy coins or pick them up and deliver them to him, and he should have got charged with the criminal offence of purchasing what he believed to be counterfeit coins. But that never occurred. I also believe because he never handed his evidence to the police until a full week after the story appeared. Okay, a full week after the story appeared. So the story appeared on the 12th of April and he didn't hand anything over till the 19th of April. I believe that he should have got done under section 16.2 of the Forgery and Counterfeiting Act 1981, which says unless you've got a legal lawful excuse, you cannot have possession of or keep possession of counterfeit coins or coins you believe to be counterfeit. Well, the fact is, he kept hold of the 3 coins I gave him on the 2nd of April, which were actually genuine coins from my pocket, but I believe he then switched them for 3 of the alleged fake coins, so that it wouldn't be discovered I'd just given him 3 genuine coins by the police or CPS. He was giving them on the 2nd of April. He didn't give them to the police. Well, he didn't give them to the police at all. But he perceptively, by using 3 of the other coins, gave them to the police on the 19th of April. That's a full 17 days later. But in any event, they weren't the coins I gave him from my pocket, because they were genuine. And in terms of the 1,000 coins, although sometimes it's referred to as 996 coins, sometimes it's referred to as 997 coins in legal documents, court documents, police records, court records that can be seen at the link that is below this video on YouTube. Those coins picked up on the 9th of April were not given by him to the police until the 19th of April, some 10 days later. However you look at it, there is no chain of evidence for 17 days with the 3 coins, or for 10 days with the 1,000 coins, or 996 or 997, depending on who you believe or what documents you believe are accurate. There's no chain of evidence. They may not even be the coins I picked up that he gave to the police. And further, what was his lawful excuse for holding on to them? Now, he may argue that he did not want to give them to the police until the story had appeared. But the story appeared on Sunday the 12th of April. He didn't hand stuff in until the 19th of April. That's a full week later. 7 days. So at the very least, he cannot justify those 7 days, because he or one of his team or someone he tasked to could have, even if he couldn't make it to Rochdale Police Station, taken them to a local police station, handed them in and said, please get them to Rochdale Police, where we're going to report this at a later date. He did not fulfil his legal obligation. He broke the law. He did not have a lawful excuse under section 16.2 of the Forgery and Counterfeiting Act 1981, and yet he never got charged for that either. Why is this, you may ask? Why did the CPS never charge him? Why are there stories galore in the public domain, which I allude to on circusofthemind.net, and I give links to in my books, IMPOSTER Rupert Murdoch's Fake Sheik, Mazher Mahmood Exposed, Volumes 1 and 2, which will be available from all good bookstores from early 2025, after either Newsgroup newspapers make me a Part 36 offer to effectively silence me, or after it makes it to court, which is scheduled to start in January 2025, alongside other claimants such as Talisa Contostavlos, another Mahmood victim, Tom Watson, the MP, Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, and 42 of us in total at the moment scheduled to be in court in January 2025. When those legal proceedings are concluded, I'm going to apply to the court to get permission to use the documents and videos and audios and everything else that's been disclosed to me, to then be able to go back to the Criminal Cases Review Commission with a whole ton of fresh evidence, which can then be used to appeal my 2 wholly unsafe convictions, which you can tell are unsafe by what I've been saying here, but also the evidence that's on my site, circusofthemind.net, and presented in the books Imposter Rupert Murdoch's Fake Sheik, Mazher Mahmood Exposed, Volumes 1 and Volumes 2. So all those things need to be considered. Also, there is a link below this video which will take you to images of various police documents, police ARCO file documents, my Criminal Records Bureau, DBS certificate, court documents and such, which raise weird questions. There's videos, by the way, on circusofthemind.net and my Celebrity Hypnotist YouTube channel, where you click on playlist and find the one about the fake Sheik, that show you these documents on screen and explain the errors in them. For example, there's a copy of a court indictment dated the 21st of October 98, which shows that the indictment against me was changed from being 1 charge of delivery of 3 coins on the 2nd of April and 1 charge of delivery of 997 coins on the 9th of April. It was changed to that from what it previously was. And just a document from the Crown Prosecution Service shows, originally the indictment that was signed on the 2nd of September 1998 was signed for 1 count of 1,000 coins being delivered on the 9th of April 1998, and that was it. But then suddenly it changes on the 21st of October to 2 counts, 1 of 3 coins on the 2nd of April and 1 of 996 coins. Hang on, 996 according to the CPS. According to the court document, it was 997. They can't even get the numbers right, which is bizarre. And then there's a police crime report document and some ARCO documents I received after doing some subject access requests. That according to them, offence number 1 took place on the 9th of April 98 at 5 PM at the Piccadilly Hotel in Manchester. And offence number 2 took place on the 9th of April 98 at 5 PM at the Piccadilly Hotel in Manchester. Can we spot a problem here? Apparently, 2 identical offences took place at the same hotel at the same time. How's that possible? Surely if they took place at the same place at the same time, then that's only 1 offence. And indeed only 1 alleged offence ever took place on the 9th of April, because 3 coins, that were genuine ones, were on the 2nd of April, and the 1,000 coins were on the 9th of April. But as you can see, there's errors galore, and probably confusion because of Mahmood switching in and out these coins. And these documents, you can see at the link below this video, say that as well as being charged for these 2 things, that I was subject to forfeiture of the coins. Well, how could any alleged coins, being fake or genuine, whatever they were, ever have been taken from me and destroyed when, from the 9th of April, at around 5 PM according to documents, around the 9th of April 1998 at around 5 PM, from that moment on the coins were never in my possession. They'd only been in my possession for a couple of hours on the 9th of April from me picking them up from the pub. Once they were handed to Mahmood, they were in his possession with no chain of evidence, no proof that they're actually the coins he handed to the police. So nothing was ever taken from me, despite what documents say. And then an even bigger question raised by my CRB, my DBS certificate. If you look at that, that shows that all the files of the criminal justice system that CRBs are done from show that apparently I've got 2 criminal convictions on my record. It says that conviction 1 was 6 months for an offence that took place on the 9th of April. And that conviction 2 is also for 6 months for an offence they say took place on the 9th of April. How could 2 identical offences take place on the same day? They couldn't. It's a complete and utter codge up. They couldn't even get the paperwork right. Why the confusion? Also, further, there's never been any evidence provided by the Crown Prosecution Service that the coins were ever forensically analysed. You may say, of course they would have been. Well, I contacted the Royal Mint, and as documents below this video show, on the 16th of August 2018, they contacted me and said that yes, they do keep documents and files from that time period of 1998, but that they checked them under all my different aliases and stage names, and also cross-referenced with the News of the World and whatnot, and that nothing connected to my name, the News of the World, or anything like that was ever given to them in terms of fake coins or alleged fake coins to be checked at that time. They couldn't find anything, which to me says the coins were never checked, which therefore, well, that's just another laughable thing in and of itself. Further, one other thing that was in the disclosure, by the way, bizarrely, and this one made no sense to me whatsoever really, but it's there, disclosed was a copy of what I know to be the inside page from a book. In 1996, I bought Uri Geller's Mind Power kit from him, Waterstones in Birmingham, and he signed it to me, to Alex, for our friendship, Uri Geller, and dated it, and it was the full inside page. That book was one of my prized possessions. It was in my house in 1998 when, on the evening of the 1st of April 1998, after that first meeting with Mahmood, Alan Breeze stopped at my house. At some point later that year, i.e. a matter of a few weeks later, I discovered I could not find the book. I misplaced it, I thought, okay, I'm sure it will show up. To this day, it never shown up. It was always a mystery. Where did that book disappear to? Now, the book's not apparently been disclosed, so I'm not saying the book's in the Enfield archive, but what it infers to me is that Alan Breeze stole that book, took it with him, removed the inside page where the dedication is from Uri Geller to me, and gave that to Mahmood, who for whatever reason kept it, and it is in the Enfield archive as was disclosed to me. Coincidentally, the photograph they used of me on Nickelodeon was of me bending a spoon. Were they going to try, did it cross their mind briefly to try and, because Uri Geller had, you know, there were rumours he'd worked for Mossad in the past and stuff. Were they going to try and do some strange link and say that perhaps I was going to get guns off Uri Geller? I know it sounds ridiculous, but all of this whole thing's ridiculous when you look at all the bits put together. Now, on top of all that, I'll just mention that obviously newspapers are trying to rely on the statute of limitations and saying that it's more than 6 years since I discovered that my phone had been hacked or unlawful information gathering had been used. But actually that's not true, because I never suspected I'd been phone hacked. I had no reason to think that anyway, because I tipped him off about me. And indeed, I didn't realise that I'd had my phone hacked until 2021, when I was contacted by the claimants group in the phone hacking cases to give them a statement about my experiences with Mazher Mahmood, and then they showed me that in disclosure a receipt had come out that said Smith project on it, and the timing and date of it was a few days before I met up with Mahmood, and this is when I was then had evidence, knowledge and belief that I could have been hacked, and I started and engaged searching for solicitors and eventually filed my claim on the 30th of September 2022 as illustrated at circusofthemind.net. Further, to prove that I had no suspicion whatsoever, the thing is, after the collapse of the Talisa trial in 2014 and after the Panorama documentary aired on the BBC, which you can watch on circusofthemind.net, I was taken on pro bono by Siobhan Egan at Lewis Nadis Law, along with John Elford, Herbie Hides, Stephen Thwaites, Earl of Hardwicke and other Mahmood victims in a quest to get our unsafe convictions overturned. Unfortunately, that didn't succeed, and we had to go to the CCRC, and that didn't succeed, and then I've gone back to the Court of Appeal, and I got refused, and then I've gone back to the CCRC and been refused. I'm going to be going back to the CCRC because the vast majority of what I mentioned in this video is fresh evidence that's come to light in the past couple of years, and the past year in particular, 2024, tons of fresh evidence thanks to disclosure and other sources which prove my convictions to be, I believe, unsafe. The thing is, Lord, that Siobhan Egan also put me in touch, and other Mahmood victims in touch with Mark Lewis, the renowned phone hacking lawyer, who was one of the preeminent phone hacking lawyers, and indeed he represented the family of murdered schoolgirl Millie Dowler. If anyone knows about phone hacking, it's Mark Lewis. And in 2017/2018, when he represented me, he was looking into bringing a case for malicious prosecution against Mahmood, a news group, or for libel, slander, defamation, that type of thing, because they published untrue things. Unfortunately, nothing came of that, but what it does show is that during that time there was never any mention or any suspicion or any evidence or thought on any level that I may have been phone hacked or other forms of unlawful information gathering used against me. Which is why I never filed a claim at that time, because I had no evidence, no thought, no belief, and certainly no suspicion of such having taken place until 2021, when the claimants group contacted me and showed me the existence of a receipt a few days before I first met with Mahmood, which would infer that they hacked my phones, and from that, combined with the other stuff I've said, would have been 20 steps ahead of me, and they would have known that I knew who Mahmood was and what my real intentions were. Why, as ethical journalists, well, in my opinion they're not, but if they were ethical journalists, why didn't they just walk away from it then? Madness. In that claim, I also refer on circusofthemind.net in my claimant-specific particulars of claim, filed on the 30th of September 1998, against News Group, to a story run in the Sun newspaper in January 1994 entitled Dirty Trancing. We expose evil hypnotist who hypnotises women to believe he's their favourite film star to get them into bed. It was written in a manner that gave the impression I was some kind of hypnotic rapist and hypnotised women against their will into doing things they didn't want to do, which is blatantly untrue and had no basis in reality. It was also written as though it was some kind of undercover story, when in truth I knew who the journalist Christopher Blythe was, and he attended many of my shows, many of which were private shows that I got him into so that he could write up about my shows for this feature that I was misled to believe would be a positive one. I then paid my local barmaid to come to one of the shows and play along and give the story that she'd asked me to hypnotise her, into believing I was her favourite film star Mel Gibson, so that she could have consensual sex with the film star of her dreams under hypnosis, which would have been a positive, fun, quirky media story, except he wrote it up as though I was some kind of hypnotic rapist. Again, a total disregard for honesty on any level. But should it be any surprise, because there are decades of proof, evidence and facts that come to light of fabricated stories, lies, distortions and stories engineered and fabricated through unlawful and illegal means through the News of the World and other news group newspaper publications. So with all these things in mind, also consider the documents at the link below this video on YouTube. You'll see it in the video description. And also consider all of the legal documents, evidence and other links that are on circusofthemind.net. And also go to my YouTube channel, Celebrity Hypnotist. Click on where it says playlists and then click on the one that says Fake Sheik Exposed. And if you happen to have come across this and it is now 2025, because it's not being released until about spring 2025, but there will be available from all good book retailers 2 volumes of the encyclopedic books entitled Imposter Rupert Murdoch's Fake Sheik Mazher Mahmood Exposed Volume 1 and Imposter Rupert Murdoch's Fake Sheik Mazher Mahmood Exposed Volume 2 by Jonathan Royle, Hypnotist and Mind Magician Alex Smith. They'll be plugged on circusofthemind.net as well. My career resume is at magicalguru.co.uk. My main website is magicalguru, magicalguru.com for media interviews and such like. And, well, yeah, I was, for about 6 years, Britain's biggest ever media prankster. I can also reveal the TV, radio, newspaper and magazine articles and stories that I was involved in, not just involving me as the front person, but also other people, along with the help of the dishonest journalist Alan Breeze. So yeah, the fake Sheikh, Mazher Mahmood. The evidence is there. He drugged people, hacked forms, used unlawful techniques, covert surveillance, without even having a public interest journalism defence. And yet here's the thing. In 1994, we now know, thanks to disclosure in our courts, that documents exist showing that the Metropolitan Police communicated with the Crown Prosecution Service. And the Crown Prosecution Service communicated with the Metropolitan Police. And the nature of those communications was following a collapsed case where Mahmood was the chief witness, following another one of his fabricated stories. And lo and behold, the police and the CPS are both talking about the fact that Mahmood cannot and should not ever be considered as a witness of truth in any other cases moving forward. And yet, that was 94, 2004, 2014. It took until 20 years later and the collapse of the Talisa trial, where Mahmood was exposed as a serial perjurer by lying on the stand and getting done for conspiracy to pervert the course of justice. The evidence galore started to come out, and most of that's come out since sort of he got convicted in October 2016, and then even more came out from 2021 onwards after the claimants group contacted me. And in the past year alone, I've got, through disclosure, tons of stuff, and other Mahmood victims have got further disclosures that show is illegal, unlawful and wholly dishonest modus operandi and techniques that were left unchecked. And the thing is, as Paddy French has reported, Paddy French of Press Gang, links to the articles he's done are on circusofthemind.net. He has, in this year, 2024, also exposed the fact that the police and CPS knew in 1994 Mahmood could not and should not ever be considered a witness of truth. And he has also published the fact that Piers Morgan was involved in creating the monster that became Mazher Mahmood, and that there's evidence to show he turned a blind eye to Mahmood's lying. And there's also evidence in there of a case collapsing in sort of 1990, it's either 96 or 99. You can go and look at the article. The point is, further cases collapsed where Mahmood was illustrated, his evidence could not be relied upon. But the police knew and the CPS knew back in 1994. They said he could not and should not be considered a witness of truth, and yet they carried on doing so. Meaning, I would argue that all convictions secured on Mahmood's lies, because he's an untrustworthy witness. The police and CPS say that between themselves in 1994. Any conviction that they got after that should be considered unsafe. This is a gross miscarriage of justice. Dozens of people wrongfully convicted and wrongfully jailed, as explained on circusofthemind.net. And these convictions need examining and overturning now that the truth and the evidence is there. And what needs examining as well is why the police and CPS never disclose these things to us. They have a duty of disclosure to disclose to people anything that could be relevant to what they're going to be charged with and the cases that are going to be brought against them. But at no time when I was arrested, charged or convicted, and at no time since, including up to today, the 29th of October 2024, have the police or CPS ever disclosed to me the fact that the police and CPS both knew in 1994 that Mahmood could not and should not ever be considered a witness of truth. They've never disclosed the collapsed 1999 case, which also in 99, different from the stuff that Paddy French talks about at the links on circusofthemind.net. But in 1999, the Rodriguez case collapsed when it was shown that Mahmood had spliced evidence and recordings were unreliable. No convictions, no one should have been taken to court based on Mahmood's evidence from 1994 onwards. And if there were, it should have been disclosed to us that he'd lied previously and messed with evidence and cases had collapsed. And, well, there you go. Check out circusofthemind.net. I believe there's even more damning evidence that will come to light in the future as well. They're probably just scraping the surface. Has there been some kind of massive cover-up by the police and Crown Prosecution Service? And if so, why? Why didn't they disclose these things to us? Why did the Attorney General step in and try and stop the BBC from broadcasting the Panorama documentary in 2014 after the collapse of the Talisa trial? This and many other questions, such as why, when over the years many judges have called into question, why was Mahmood not charged for buying drugs when he had no legal or lawful excuse for doing so? And yet never was he charged for such, just as he was never charged for the things I believe he was guilty of the criminal offences of in my case. Thank you for listening. My name's Alex William Smith by birth, better known as Jonathan Royle. Bye for now.